With one last week of quote unquote summer content, because next week kicks off Big Ten Media Days. We welcome you back into, I think, the final true summer edition of the Bleav in Big Ten show. Welcome, everybody. Great to be back here with you for another week. I am Rhett Lewis, of course, alongside my co-host, former Nebraska Cornhusker, Adam Carricker. Adam, great to be back here with you. Another busy week before we really kick off the season in earnest. Starts for you and me next week in Indianapolis, buddy.
Dude, I'm excited. Big Ten Media Days. I don't like wearing suits, and I had to go through my closet and make sure the blaze. Well, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take it. I'm going to walk in with it, and then it's going to come off because, and big reason I don't like where I get hot. Dude, my dad told me growing up, Adam, you drink more. Yeah, you drink more than anybody I've ever met, and as a result, I go to the bathroom more. But I just get I like even more than a typical big guy. It's like blazing where we're at right now. It's like triple digits. I'm watching my poor 7-year-old out there playing YMCA baseball, and it's like 100 degrees. But my wife looks at me, and I'm the one drenched in sweat. Like I'm in the middle of a shower, but I'm just sitting on my fat butt. But anyways, I digress. So quick.
It's a little chilly in here, actually. I might
wow. Just got to rub that in, huh? Okay. real quick, before we light this
good friends.
Yep. Yeah, before we light this candle, I want to give a shout out to Bonzel Pool and Spa. Check them out at bonzelpool.com. And I know Rhett does all sorts of phenomenal stuff. NFL Network, Big Ten Network. Check him out everywhere you can find him. Also, the Carricker Chronicles, carrickerchronicles.com. We have 24 content contributors now, up from 6. Less than a year ago, we launched the website.
24. Wow.
Yeah, it's going fast. So I'm excited. And if you ever want to hop on there too, obviously the Big Ten show goes there as well. But feel free anytime, my friend. And then Carricker Chronicles on YouTube back August 25th.
That's fantastic news. Hey, let's kick things off here with kind of the story of the week. It has been the return of the NCAA football video game on whatever platform you now choose. I mean, do you still have to actually insert something physically into a gaming system? Are you able to actually download this now? Is that where we're at? The last time that I played a video game was probably pre-marriage, 10 years ago. And I loved it. We used to play all the time. High school, college, post-college. My friends and I get together. We'd have big NCAA, dynasty parties where we'd all pick a team and we'd play literally all day long, do the recruiting and the whole deal. And then, of course, it all went dead, right, for a long time. But now, at long last, the NCAA video game is back, and it is better than ever. And there's everything you either love or hate, I guess, about college football, Adam, is in the game. Transfer portal, recruiting, the whole deal. So I remember vividly when those games would come out when I was playing, because it was always like, now you'd never had to worry about this, but I was a little bit lower on the depth chart. So I was like, am I going to be in the game? Am I going to be in the game? And in fact, made the cut NCAA 2002 through 2005. I still have those somewhere. But it was a big deal, and I imagine this is an even bigger deal for those kids who, didn't even have the game to play, but are now in the game playing now.
I think it probably is a bigger deal for them. I think it's the biggest deal for people like maybe yourself or like me who played it and then were robbed of it for a decade, and now it's back. Like, I feel like I'm the biggest kid I am the biggest kid you've ever seen. I love Peter Pan. I never liked Captain America as an example because I never wanted to grow up when I was a kid, but I feel like the biggest kid on Christmas morning, honestly, now that this game is back out. No, my experience was waiting for I didn't play a whole lot of other video games. I really wasn't allowed to play video games growing up. And then when I finally got to, it was all about college football, and I'd wait for it to come out. I wasn't one of those people that would wait overnight in lines. That's cool if you did that. No problem. Much respect. What's wrong with you? But there's plenty wrong with me. But my point is simply this. I'd wait till the next morning. I'd go get the game and I'd play it all day. But I remember my true freshman year, my roommate and I were both true freshman defensive ends. And we were relatively the same size and height, pretty close in the beginning. But there was one true freshman DN at Nebraska. And of course, him and I bickered the whole year. No, that's me.
Who was it?
No, that's me. And it was neither one of our numbers. So it was really, it was probably him. But I wasn't going to let him know that.
Of course.
But as time went along, I'd look at this 6'6", 290-pound guy from Kennewick, Washington, wearing number 90, looked like Ivan Drago, and I'd be like, I'm supposed to pretend that's not me because I'm not getting any money for this. And
That's
obviously
right.
that's changed. But at the time I was like, that's clearly me. I'm being ripped off. But I did.
Yeah. No, it's great. And it was great fun. And I don't know. I don't have a gaming system anymore. So this would be a big investment for me to go out and try to do this thing again. But
You called it an investment. That's
yeah,
awesome.
well,
I love that.
yeah, I don't know that my wife would view it the same way.
Do you have kids? How old are they? If
I
you
do. I got a 5 and 6-year-old. So they're not there
Boys?
yet.
Girls?
Boys, yeah, both boys.
Dude, that's like the prime brainwashing college football age. You got to brainwash your kids
We're all
appropriately,
in on
man.
that. We're all in on that. I don't. We're having like I'm still trying to limit like the iPad time, right?
Oh,
like so, if
that
we
makes
throw the
sense.
gaming system in,
I
like,
can respect that.
This could be a different story. But you're 100% right. They'll get into it, I'm sure, at some point. They're already big time Hoosier fans. They've been to a bunch of games. So I've got a couple little Hoosiers with me, but
the brainwashing is in full swing, and I love it. So we still have Super Nintendo, NBA Jams from '92. Michael Jordan's not in that version, or '93, whatever it is, the one without Jordan. And we've got, oh my gosh, Nintendo 64, the PS2, which was mine.
Yeah, we're a little older. Yeah.
Yeah, when I would that was college days when I'd actually play the video game. The PS2 kind of went kerplunk about 10 years ago, honestly. I still love NBA Jams. Oh, dude, Super Nintendo NBA Jams. He's on fire. And I'm sitting there playing with my 6-year-old because the buttons are so simple. Both her and I can understand it. And then we had no PS3, no PS4. This was still like, all right, I'm becoming a dad. I have to prioritize time with my kids. I want to play the video game. The son is crying. What do I do? Okay, I'm going to put this away. I guess I have to take care of my son. Right. And so no PS3, no PS4, but my son has a PS5. And so I can't wait to absolutely kick his butt in this video game.
All right. Well, you got to let me know how that goes.
He's going to win. I haven't played in too long.
In the meantime, our fantastic producer, Brandon, has done a terrific job gathering some material that might really interest you and give you a little preview of what's to come when you do acquire the game and try to take it to your son. So let's take a look.
And welcome to the old horseshoe in the banks of the Olentangy, home to the Ohio State Buckeyes, one of the great settings in sport. And man, this place is rocking today. And a rivalry like this is what makes college football great. Yeah, the tradition and the history, but right here, right now, there's great intensity. This is why these guys came to these schools to play in games like this. As we'll see the number 3 team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, taking on the number 1 team in the land, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Memorial Stadium and the sea of red in the heartland of Lincoln, Nebraska. An uncommon place and home to an uncommon program with a championship pedigree. A Big Ten showdown is coming. Conference implications aplenty that could resonate for the rest of the season. As we'll see, the Purdue Boilermakers taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. For EA Sports College Football, Reese Davis with you alongside David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. Time to get this game started. Welcome to Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, one of the great venues in all of college football. And Bucky and the Badgers ready to tee things up in this home opener this afternoon. What an exciting matchup we have in store for you this afternoon, built around the pageantry, tradition, and everything that makes college football great. As we'll see a squad from the MAC, the Western Michigan Broncos, Victor's Valiant, the Conquering Heroes, and they call home the Big House. Bathed in maize and blue, welcome to Ann Arbor, home of the Michigan Wolverines. There's nothing quite like a great rivalry matchup in college football. The bitterness, the intensity, the lifetime of memories that will come as a result of what we're about to see in this one. As we'll see a squad from the Big Ten, the Michigan State Spartans. Welcome everyone to Beaver Stadium, nestled in Bucolic State College and home of the Penn State Nittany Lions, and one of the loudest, most passionate crowds you'll find anywhere in college football. Today, we have one of those games that tests your focus. Top 25 team against an unranked opponent. Can you take care of business? As we'll see a squad from the MAC, the Bowling Green Falcons, taking on the 6th-ranked team in the land, the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Oh, there it is. Man, that was cool. You know what was really cool for me? I was just like seeing the names. like seeing the guy, like recognizing the players, like, you know, I
Mhm.
saw Raiola was one of the first ones to, you know, coming out of the tunnel, Tyler Van Dyke from Wisconsin, like seeing like those Mason Graham coming under the big banner at the big house from Michigan. Like, man, that got me kind of fired up. Not only not for the game, but like for actual football, like, cause it's happening, but it's coming here.
I couldn't
Can't
agree
stop.
with you more.
Yeah.
First of all, shout out to Brandon. Phenomenal job on putting that together. All right. And as you watch it, like I'm looking for little things, you know, and obviously I know the Nebraska one really, really well. Like they nailed it. They honestly nailed it.
Nice.
I do want some royalties though. They got so many people in there throwing the bones. Now, Jason Peter was the one who was the first one to do it in a game in Memorial Stadium, but it was kind of on a lull. And then this big, ugly, loudmouth guy with the first name of Adam started doing it on his show. I want some royalties, man.
You should.
But they nailed it. I thought it was great. Dude, it was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
It did get me excited for the game, gets me excited for the actual season. I just, random side note, I don't know if you knew this, but Penn State's actually going to go to turf in a couple of years, and it's going to be navy blue turf. Kind of similar, not as bright, but they kind of got the idea from Boise State. So I'm curious what that'll look like in the game whenever that happens in a couple of years.
And I think Eastern Washington had the red, but I think they just
turf.
got rid of it.
Did they?
Like,
Okay.
I think they got rid. Like, there's definitely Boise felt like, you know, that was the one everyone knew, and then there was a couple other ones here and there that were like the teal field out in Myrtle Beach with Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
Looks really weird. But the Navy will be interesting. I know they've got the big stadium renovation that's happening soon here, so that's gonna be pretty cool. All right, so let's move to the second topic today, which is a continuation from what we talked about a little bit last week in my travels down to Thibodaux, Louisiana for the Manning Passing Academy. Talking about a few guys that are in the game and are in the game as Big Ten quarterbacks that were down there, not just competing with each other, but teaching and showing the ropes to a bunch of, you know, young high school kids that are just trying to get better for their high school teams, which is the real purpose of the camp. The side value for me is that I get a chance to meet these guys, talk to them a little bit, understand what they're all about, and then of course watch them throw. So talking about that a little bit, let's start with the team we started with on that NCAA 2025 intro video there, and it was Ohio State, who will bring Will Howard into the fold this year. You want to talk about an impressive guy. Like, this dude is built for being the face of a program. Obviously has been a starter at Kansas State, transferred into Ohio State, and he is ready to take the reins of that Ferrari of an offense with incredible skill position players, the best backfield in college football, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. But most importantly, what the first thing out of his mouth was probably that he was talking to me about was the coaching. Might be the best offensive coaching staff in America. Ryan Day, obviously head coach, a little bit more CEO type role for him, you know, this year as he brings his good buddy Chip Kelly in, left UCLA to come be the offensive coordinator. You got Brian Hartline as the who was kind of pseudo offensive coordinator last year, receivers coach, recruiting god. And then Justin Fry, who was Chip Kelly's offensive coordinator at UCLA and has now been the offensive line coach and run game coordinator at Ohio State for the last 2 years going into year 3. So, like, they've got so much, you know, offensive insight, brain power, and institutional knowledge based on prior relationships that Will was telling me, like, this crew, like, he feels like he is just going to explode because of the coaching that he's receiving there and obviously the great talent around him. And by the way, guy threw the heck out of the football too. I was just looking back through some of my notes. Man, really good on those intermediate routes. Like, you want to talk about comebacks to the outside, like outside the numbers. You want to talk about digs coming inside, in cuts, that sort of thing. Really, really good. And that's I feel like that's where you get a lot of those big windows in college football, especially in Ryan Day's offense. You can find a little bit more of that separation. So I was really cool. I think they're going to do a little triple double option kind of stuff with him, probably from the gun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
A little bit more of a power run game, right, with him. He's not a Justin Fields type runner, you know, who Ohio State remembers from years past. He's going to be a little bit more of that physical presence. So with that, Adam, they've got to take care of him a little bit there too, right? Because that's the type of thing that can cause some trouble if it goes the wrong way. So
Hartline, Fry, Day, Kelly, all offensive coordinator experience in college football. That is so much intellect, insight, experience. It's crazy. Then you got two guys who are a current head coach and a lot of experience in being a head coach in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, also NFL.
Yes. Twice.
The amount of knowledge is insane. This is probably the one guy I have the most amount of questions about, because I think most people look on paper and they say the 4 best teams, Texas, no particular order, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia. I think if you were narrowed down to 2, most people look on paper, and who knows what that means once the ball's kicked off. But on paper, as we see here in July, Georgia, Ohio State. And I think most people would look at Ohio State's quarterback position and they would say, that's the key. How does he play? Everything else is national championship material. Can he hold up his end of the deal? How does that work? But before we get to Will Howard specifically, these are going to be a lot of me asking you questions because you were the individual there. But I have one question about the coaching staff. Is there a possibility, okay, and there's always a possibility, but like a decent possibility that there's just might be too many cooks in the kitchen at some point?
Yes, I think that's always a possibility. I think look at what happened, just moving to the NFL level. Look at what happened to Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers last year with Frank Reich and Josh McCown and Thomas Brown and Jim Caldwell. And like they had all these guys, and we kind of lauded it and applauded it. And we are like, yeah, this is going to be great. So many, great, knowledgeable, voices for Bryce Young, rookie quarterback, number 1 overall pick. And the train came off the tracks pretty quickly. They fired a bunch of those guys midseason, and the rest, is history. So I do think that that is a possibility, but these guys all know each other so well and have been around each other. And the thing that Will told me is, Ryan Day's the accountability guy. He's going to hold you accountable to everything, from rep to rep, practice to practice, and then larger 30,000 foot view, as well, being the head coach. The other piece of it is he says Chip is the guy that tells you why. Chip is the one. So it sounds like there's like some delineation here to how they're handling things, both in the quarterback room and in the offensive staff room in particular. So, Chip's kind of the calmer. All right, look, obviously that didn't work. Coach Day might have told you pretty loudly that didn't work. Let's talk a little bit more about why that didn't work and how we can fix it moving forward. Right. So I think they've got some good balance there is what I'm trying to say. I
think Chip Kelly is the best offensive coordinator in America.
Let's go.
That's been my opinion when he was a head coach. Now, my question is if for some reason things don't go well early on, there's a lot of pressure this year for them to win, rightfully so. The expectations are a privilege to have as well. People don't have expectations if you don't think you're going to be pretty good. I wonder if they do struggle offensively, if Will Howard does struggle, if Ryan Day steps in and says, hey, I'm the head coach, the ball of fire is coming at me. I'm rooting against that. I want Ohio State or some team from the Big Ten to just kick the crap out of an SEC team in the national championship game. There's my bias all up in everybody's face. That's what I'm rooting for. But that's always a possibility. I don't think it's likely. I do think Chip Kelly's the best offensive coordinator in America. I love that they're going to use Will Howard's legs. This dude's like 6'4". He's listed at 237. Looks more like 245. I know 8 pounds doesn't sound like much, but when you're tight, it can make a little bit of an impact. So I love they're going to have to take care of him. Yeah, they're going to have to take care of him, but I love that they're going to use his legs. I love they're going to use his power, his physicality, and that's right up Chip Kelly's alleyway. I'm just curious to see if they go fast, up tempo, if they keep it regular speed, what they're going to do. All right, so you said he looked really good passing, and this is where everybody's question marks come in because everyone believes he can run and they can do the run game, the quarterback option, all that. Okay, so he looked good passing. There has to be something he didn't do great. And I'm not looking for negativity. I'm just looking for a well-rounded picture. If there was something that he maybe needs to improve on, put it that way, what stood out to you in that area?
So here's the thing. There was a number of guys that I thought threw the deep ball better than he did. One of them is the quarterback of the other team you were talking about in that Ohio State conversation, Carson Beck at Georgia. I thought, again, big physical dude. I think he's 233 pounds, and he can throw the crap out of the ball. That is for sure. The one thing that I made note of is, and again, this is in a vacuum, right? This is 1, 2 workouts, in the 100-degree heat after you've been coaching all day.
For sure.
So I thought he could be a little bit better throwing on the run. I thought pocket movement, getting out, outside the framework of the pocket and letting it rip that way, throwing some of those balls on the run, weren't quite as accurate. Now, let's look at that more in the framework of ball placement, right? And again, these are receivers that he doesn't know. This is the first time throwing to these receivers, which is also a big deal too. I thought ball placement wise, throwing on the run, there was a little bit of an issue. Now, the difference between accuracy and ball placement is you can have completions with accuracy, but ball placement allows you to score touchdowns.
Yep.
Ball placement allows your quarterback to put it on your receiver in a way in which he runs away from a defender and into the end zone, or for a first down, or
as
yards
opposed to stopping and come back and getting it or something like that. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I was coming from with that. But I thought overall, really nice job from Will Howard. So, yeah.
I am curious to see how he does this year. I am optimistic. And if I'm a D coordinator and I'm looking at Will Howard, if you watch his tape from Kansas State, physical runner, completes the intermediate pass as well to short, not so great with the deep. I'm going to crowd the box and I'm going to make him throw and I'm going to try to blitz. And everything you said is kind of similar to what I saw on tape from Kansas State. Try to get him on the run and see how he reacts, which is why if I'm Chip Kelly and I got a history of doing this anyways, let's go up tempo. Let's keep the defense on their heels so they can't come after our quarterback and put him in tough spots. But anyways, I digress. All right, man. Who's next on your list you want to chat about? Dillon Gabriel, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. Dillon, again, another transfer, another final year. This is the last go round. And it was kind of a funny moment in the staff meetings at camp when Dillon stood up and introduced himself, and and every quarterback, every staff member in the room gets up and says, "Hey, this is blah blah blah. My name's Dillon Gabriel, Oregon. It's my third year at the camp. I've been there for 26 years, so I've seen a lot of these guys come and go. And Archie Manning has been there for every minute of every camp and every day and all that. And so he gets so much pride out of hearing guys say that they've been here more than once and they've been here more than twice, multiple times. And so I don't think he intended to do this, but in the staff meeting, Dillon got up and said, here I am from Oregon. And he goes, Archie was like, well, yeah, Dillon was with us, 2 schools ago.
Kind of a compliment, kind of.
Yeah. And he didn't mean it to be a slight, but everyone got a kick out of it. That's college football today. And Dillon, obviously understood it, and we all got a laugh. But yeah, and so that was one of the things that I took away from my conversation with him. I thought both, Will Howard and Dillon Gabriel were two of the most impressive guys that I got a chance to talk to the whole camp out of the 45 plus quarterbacks that were there. And I just think he has a very mature look on transfer number 2. Probably a lot more so than transfer number 1. He acknowledged to me that he felt like he made some mistakes going from UCF to OU. And it translated on the field. They were not very good that first year at OU. We talked about it a little bit last week. But I think that the thing that he's trying to do better this time, and he really did kind of call it righting some wrongs from the first time, was find a better way to meld and to integrate yourself to the team in a more palatable manner. And so it sounds like he's got a great feel for it. He wants to learn from the veterans there in Eugene. He wants to learn the traditions. He wants to learn what this program's all about. And then he wants them to respect him enough to be able to put his own, spin on leadership that way from the quarterback spot. And all the while bringing the rest of these new guys that are, coming in to Oregon with him and bring them along so that they can really come together in this transfer portal age. So I thought it was a real mature way to look at it. But the biggest thing that I think is most, interesting is what's this offense going to look like? Okay. So the last 2 years they've been phenomenally productive with Bo Nix. They've been quick. I don't want to say quick game, because quick game denotes, you're throwing a ball, behind the line of scrimmage, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's quick stuff. And now that was a narrative around Bo Nix. It wasn't 100% true. He did push the ball down the field a bit and was pretty good at doing it. Sean Payton wouldn't have drafted him with the Denver Broncos if he didn't and couldn't. But they do like to get the ball out of your hands very quickly. And so it sounds like to me, while the production was very attractive, the veteran team was very attractive to Dillon Gabriel and transferring to Oregon, that they're going to make some tweaks to that offense a little bit to accentuate some of the things that he does really well, which he believes reading the defense in front of him, understanding concepts and understanding how to win and where to win and execute with those concepts through progression. So I think you're going to see a little bit more of a progression-based tweak to the offensive system, which we know works very well already there in Oregon. So that's kind of what I'm really excited to see.
The team across the country I'm most excited to watch this year is Oregon, because, and I forget if I've said this with you on the show. I know I've said it in the past on this show. In the past, under Chip Kelly specifically, but even in the past, Oregon was always really good. They were really fast. I always said they were too fast because they were too small, because as soon as they played somebody with speed and size, they'd get pushed around. Anytime they got to those big bowl games or national championships versus Auburn or Ohio State in 2014, that's kind of what happened. Now they've got size and they've got speed, and they just had the highest ranked recruiting class they've ever had in their school's history. They piled together about 3 or 4 top 10 recruiting classes in a row. They look like a Big Ten team day one walking in the door. And then you plug in Dillon Gabriel, who is really the final missing piece. They're the team across the country I'm probably the most excited to watch. The other team across the country that I'm intrigued is Texas, and how do you do in the SEC day in, day out, week in and week out, but we won't talk about that conference down south. But those are the teams I'm the most excited to watch from across the country, and Dillon Gabriel is obviously going to be a huge piece to that puzzle. All right, my man, next up on the docket is Washington Huskies quarterback, all right, William Rogers, as he's listed in front of me. He holds Mississippi State program records in nearly every single major passing category, and Southeastern Conference records for single season and career completions as well. This is an uber talented quarterback on a team that lost 20 of its 22 starters from a year ago. But what's your takeaway from Will Rogers?
Yeah, well, just in terms of pecking order, I would say, he's he didn't throw it as well as the other guys. And as you know, from our QB rankings, I was pretty high on him. But again, this is a different environment. And I'm not going to certainly hold that against him. I'm not going to, cast negativity towards his skill set just because I watched him throw for 2 or 3 days and it wasn't as good as these other guys that we're talking about here. But I think, Kalen DeBoer, who knows quarterback play and who knows his offense, even though he's, now at Alabama, but Will committed to Washington when Kalen was there in Seattle, still there. And so he saw something in Will Rogers that I think is important. And I think that has some value. Now, how does Jedd Fisch see it now? How does Jedd Fisch use it? And that's actually one of the things I'm most curious to talk to him about at Big Ten Media Days is, what was your priority in putting this offense together? And how did you really want to build it in year one, knowing that you had so much of your production from a year ago that's now gone? And how big of a piece of the puzzle is Will Rogers, in his final year of college football? So, does he have the time, and do you guys have the time together to figure this thing out in a way in which you can hit the ground running, be really productive, win, a bunch of games and compete in this new Big Ten? That remains to be seen at this point. I thought his ball was not quite as accurate as some of the other guys on a consistent basis within those workouts. I think he's got the skill set to be successful. I think he's got a background in a very pass-heavy offense to be successful. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
For sure. There's going to be a lot of gelling or attempting to gel up at UW in Seattle, Washington. New head coach, new AD, new just about every freaking thing you can imagine up there. A team that just played in the national championship, a team that I'd watch them and I'm like, man, they're just really freaking good. Last year. And then admittedly, going in that Pac-12 championship game, I thought Oregon outplayed them the first time. I thought Washington got a little bit lucky to win. It's really hard to beat the same team twice. And I picked Oregon to win. And obviously Washington won. Washington, it was the same difference, a field goal, 3 points. But they were clearly the better team that second game throughout the game. Oregon was lucky to get within striking distance and make it interesting. But I'm curious to see how they bounce back from everyone who's gone. Will Rogers, as you mentioned, going to be a huge, gigantic piece of that. Quick question. If you had to grade just the passing, take the physical appearance, the interactions you had, talking with them, the running out of it, just purely passing, who was more impressive at this camp for 2 or 3 days in the heat with receivers they don't know, Will Rogers or Will Howard?
Howard.
That's got to excite Buckeye fans. I tell you what, that's got to be exciting.
Howard. Yeah. And it, again, in a vacuum over those couple of days, because that's all we have, side by side. I thought Will Howard was more impressive, more consistently, because Will Rogers definitely had some big time throws, right? Definitely had some ones that make you go, all right, yeah, that's what Jedd Fisch is going to love up there in Washington. So I think there's that, but I thought Howard was more consistent. Now, the other thing that I'll say is, and before we get out of here today, Hudson Card is right up there with those guys.
Okay.
He was right up. I think Gabriel was probably a cut above. Okay. The way he moves, the way he throws kind of everywhere was just really dang impressive. Maybe he doesn't have the arm strength of a Will Howard, but Hudson Card can throw the football. Flat out rips it all over the field. And I think that he and Ryan Walters and Graham Harrell and that whole offense together again for a second year, everybody kind of coming together there and moving in the same direction. I think they're going to see some real dividends there, because he's also he's a really good leader. He's an impressive, kind of cool, low blood pressure type of guy, calm in the pocket. Watched him, in person last year when IU and Purdue played. I swear to you, and I talked to him about this, I was like, I swear to you, I counted 12 sacks. Like, should have been, like, not even biased homer, should have been sacks that he got out of in that one game. One game. So he's got some elusiveness. Now, he's not going to run it like Will Howard does or can, but he's got enough to get out of trouble. He's got enough to create some space for himself, and he can really throw the football. And I saw that kind of in spades. And the other thing I'll say about Hudson is watching him coach those kids, that was really impressive too. Because there's some guys out there that, like, they're not into that as much. It's like, it's hot. They're not listening. I'm not going to put 100% into this. He put 100% into that. In fact, all four of those guys that I'm talking about did. And it was really impressive. So Hudson Card, though, I'm telling you, is right up there with those guys in terms of throwing the football.
How you interact with other people, how you interact with kids, especially when it's maybe not the most exciting thing to you on a hot day and you're trying to be impressive because your moment's coming soon. That matters. That tells you about someone's character. And he's flown under the radar. And just because Purdue struggled last year a little bit, the guy transferred from Texas the year before, but he finished the season actually ranked third in the Big Ten in passing yards. Okay, I don't know if most people know that. And completions per game as well. All right, last question, then we'll hit the road, and then you and I shall reconvene in Big Ten Media Days next week. Absolutely. And give me your top three most impressive quarterbacks at the Manning camp, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah. Good one. Quinn Ewers, number one, without question. Quinn Ewers, QB1, ball is just different coming off his hand. It's just, there's just no two ways about it. Like it almost, buddy of mine, Daniel Jeremiah, and I talked about this on his podcast, the Move the Sticks podcast, in the work that we do together for NFL Network. But he kind of compared it to Baker Mayfield. Comps are hard. I thought Baker muscles up to throw it a little bit more. Now, he's got all the arm strength in the world, but he really has to put everything behind it to kind of, he's got a kind of a more aggressive throwing motion, whereas Ewers kind of reminds you a little bit of Aaron Rodgers, the way it comes off his hands.
Just effortless.
So, effortless. Yes, exactly. So I'll give you that. Quinn Ewers. I would say Carson Beck was right up there. Really good throwing the football. And then the other guy that was really impressive to me that, you're not going to probably recognize the name, but we should follow him this fall just to see, Will McElvain from Central Arkansas.
Okay. All right.
I'm telling you, this dude was ripping the threads off the ball. Like,
nice.
Just absolute tight spiral. I mean, it flew off his hand, got to where it needed to be, accurately with pace. No lack of arm strength. I'm not saying he was the best quarterback there. I'm saying he did not look out of place amongst some of the best quarterbacks in the country. So that'd be my top three.
Dude, that I'm gonna go check him out and learn a little bit more about him and keep my eye on him throughout the season. I think people forget Quentin Ewers was the number one recruit in the entire country, and it wasn't even close when he came out. He's been so overshadowed by Arch Manning, so to speak, that I think people forget that. I gotta ask, because there wasn't a Big Ten quarterback on that list, so you're being objective. If you were to list a fourth quarterback, is it a Big Ten guy or no? Is there any hope for us up north?
Yeah, no, I'd say Gabriel was right there.
All right, there's some hope.
And I wanted to get McElvain out there. I think ultimately total package, I'd probably put Gabriel ahead, but yeah, I think that that dude was impressive, and I think he earned the right to be acknowledged that way. But yeah, there was and Arch also probably right up there too. Arch
Okay.
Manning.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to talk about a dude that is as physically built as any quarterback in college football right now. It's Arch Manning. Like he has got such a sturdy platform with his lower half. Same thing with Carson Beck. One thing that stood out to me about him. So these quarterbacks are built different these days, man.
As an openly anti-Texas guy, you just listed 2 Texas quarterbacks, and you've officially ruined my day, my friend.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to do that. Yeah.
All right. Dude, we shall meet officially for the first time next week at Big Ten Media Days, and I look forward to it, my friend.
Yep, me too. Me too. Thanks, everybody, for being with us today on the Bleav in Big Ten show. Check us out. Check out the Character Chronicles, and we got a lot more to come over the course of the next week with some content here for Big Ten Media Days, and then, of course, leading you right into fall camps and this season. Till next time, we'll catch you later.